The United States technically is a corporation, at least in that sense that they use those words. Okay? So, now we get down to today and the money issues. We find that in 1934, a number of maneuvers, let's call them maneuvers, were made by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was the President of the United States of America, Incorporated, which is one of the subcontractors, a British territorial subcontractor to be exact. FDR did a number of things that, from any rational viewpoint, were extremely criminal. For starters, he enslaved the municipal population by impersonating people as things and issuing clearinghouse certificates, birth certificates, against them and against their resources and assets. This was somewhat announced during his first inaugural address, which is couched in very religious terms. Take a look at the text of his first inaugural address, and you will see where he actually says that this is what's going on. He is selling a purported interest in living people, the citizenry of the municipality. This was the beginning and the backdrop for a more generalized process of registration. This has created a situation in which living people have been plundered as corporations. And they're not corporations. They were never even made aware that any of this was going on behind their backs. Millions, billions of people have been defrauded by this evil system. And part of the evil was that they seized upon our gold and silver to pay their debts. So, in 1934, they issued gold bearer bonds. This began a practice that has continued through to the present day. They issued gold bearer bonds. The corporations, calling themselves the United States of America Incorporated, issued gold bearer bonds against our gold, the unincorporated United States of America. Now, it's our gold. It was always our gold. And they got away with taking it offshore and placing it in safekeeping by claiming a custodial interest, a trust interest, that in fact does not exist. You can read any one of the constitutions and see exactly what their duties are. It does not include taking our gold or our silver or putting it anywhere. They are not responsible for that. Now, they have taken leave of their senses as of 1934 and issued gold bearer bonds against our gold assets, which they cashiered in the Philippines. The United States Navy has all the receipts. We have the receipts. We can show what they did. They took our gold, transported it to the Philippines for quote-unquote safekeeping, and then in 1934 they issued all these gold bearer bonds against our gold resources in the Philippines. 152 quote-unquote baby boxes, which I will show you examples of, were issued. Each one contains a letter purporting to confer global immunity on the carrier and the receiver of these bonds. Each one contains 250 of the bearer bonds, and they are each for $100 million in 1934 terms. As bearer bonds, they can be cashed by the bearer against the Filipino government and the reserves held in the Philippines. However, that is not how they have used these bonds. What they've done is they have put them in banks as cash assets, as the equivalent of gold. And they have used them to underwrite the banks. They have used them to issue credit. And of course, under the fractional reserve banking system that they conveniently set up for themselves, they can issue 10 times the credit than the asset backing the credit. That this is a fraudulent system, that it is legalized gambling. So, we are in the process of cashing in a single gold bearer bond. We are the actual owners of the gold in the Philippines that this bearer bond is drawn against. It is going to be finalized at a specific time, on a specific day, for a specific value. And we are going to deposit it in our American chartered international trade bank. It is not owned or operated by the U.S. in any way, shape, or form. It is not subject to the U.S. It is not operated under private law. It's operated under public law, our public law. And it is operated under international law. We have chartered the Global Family International Trade Bank as an American institution. We have also chartered the Global Family Bank of Commerce. This is part of the Blue Dot banking system. At this point, the living people on this planet are owed trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars. And so are our trust funds. Let me very briefly address this issue too. As part of their attempt to overcome the public and subjugate the employers as if we were the debtors of the employees, they have attempted to steal American common law trusts designed to operate in perpetuity and to do the same kind of identity substitution swindle that they've attempted to do with us individually and with our countries. They have just set up a shell company, a shell corporation with a similar name, and they have pretended that that shell corporation is the same as the actual trust. Let me give you an example. America was underwritten by the St. Germain Family Trust. I happen to know this because I'm a member of the St. Germain family. St. Germain left an incredible fortune to underwrite America and America's government forevermore. He believed in freedom. He believed in the principles of self-governance. And he and other family members placed their fortunes in the trust to underwrite America. That trust is an American common law trust which exists in perpetuity. The perpetrators of all this evil and criminality set up another trust, a statutory trust, named it the same thing, and pretended to have access and right to draw upon the resources of the St. Germain Family Trust. They pulled the same little dirty trick that they pulled on the United States of America. They pretended to incorporate it. But you cannot incorporate something that is unincorporated and which is settled in its law. The trust indentures themselves prevent this kind of activity if someone stands up and says, no, that's not the way it is. There is no association between the United States of America unincorporated and something foreign calling itself the United States of America incorporated. There is no association between the St. Germain Family Trust, which is unincorporated, and something calling itself the St. Germain Family Trust Incorporated. That other entity is just a shell. It's an empty shelf corporation with no assets of its own, and it only succeeds in accessing the assets when the bar associations fail their duty and allow this to take place. So, today we are going to cancel a portion of the debt that our employees and subcontractors owe us, and we are going to redeem a bearer bond for the full value of the gold, which is ours, in the Philippines. You're going to be here witnessing a little bit of history. When the United States of America unincorporated redeems value for our gold, it will reappear on the books of our newly chartered American banks. And from there, it will go back to be used by the people of this country as they are needed, as the funds are needed to support the actual public and the actual government. We all need to understand that this is literally our country. We are the government. And it is our responsibility to carefully watch what goes on so that these things never happen again. And so that there are no misunderstandings of who is who and what is what. And so that the bar associations and their members are kept in the straight and narrow and not allowed to pull these kinds of tricks again. All right, folks, we're going to take a little break here, and when we come back, we're going to create a little history. 1934-8, 2 series, 2 original bonds. Here is the back
You need to
of the second bond. I should have showed this as the back of the first bond, so take another look. Okay, that's the back of the first bond. And again, I'll repeat, this is the second bond. This is the back of the second bond. The 100 million bond is SC122071K11, box number K4577, space 3300-A. It's important for everyone to realize that both the gold and the credit belong to us, the living people, the Americans, whose gold was transferred to the Philippines by the U.S. Navy beginning in 1898. So the gold was transferred to the Philippines in the years prior to 1907 for the most part, with continuing shipments. This gold is claimed by the people of this country as our inheritance and asset. So when we are redeeming these bonds, we are actually forgiving a portion of the debt that the United States of America Corporation created by issuing the bonds in the first place against our assets. We have looked at these bonds very carefully, and they do agree with our records. They do agree with the descriptions given. They are on the right paper. They are completely hallmarked. They are identifiable. We have every reason to believe from the provenance from which we received these, and their appearance, and their hallmarks, and their signatures, everything about these bonds appears to be genuine. So I'm going to certify that they are genuine as fiduciary of the United States of America, unincorporated. We are going to cancel these bonds. And here to assist me in this is our bank, one of our bank directors for the Global Family International Trade Bank. Arturo, would you do the honors?
Yes, I will. Okay. Kelvin, cancel.
As you can see, both of these bonds have been completely canceled. They have the bank stamp on every coupon.
Just set them down here, so just anyway.
This concludes the process by which the so-called national debt is canceled